Hello and welcome to Voices of a Vic podcast with me, Ben Aiton, and Mike Duffy. Hope you've all had a fantastic summer. This is our first one back since the end of a closed season last year. Had to recharge our batteries because it wasn't a pleasant season, it ups and downs. But that's what Watford do. They take you on that roller coaster journey. So yeah, we're back. We've recharged our battery. So we will be giving you more constant. What's the word? Constant
Content.
material. Content. There you go, Mike. Thank you very much. You can tell I'm a little bit rusty. But yeah, we're back now. So we're going to give you much more regular content now going forward. Obviously, there's 5 of us. So Joe, Cam and Katie will be contributing towards that as well. But as it's the first one back for this season, me and Mike will jump on and take the lead on this one. And we've got lots to discuss tonight, Mike. But firstly, how are you, mate? You enjoyed your summer?
Yeah, it's been nice to switch off from Watford. Like you say, it was a bit of a rough sort of season where things were looking good, then they weren't looking great, and then Tlev's come in and sort of lifted the camp a little bit, I think. I know results weren't all there, but performances were what we were wanting. We wanted to see passion from the players, and I'm looking forward to it. I've got that bug back now. Usually it takes me a while to sort of click into gear, but I think I've fallen in love with the training gear. So that within itself definitely helped get the bug back. And obviously everyone's back from, well, not everyone, because I think Georgie's probably the last person back, but most people are back from pre-season. So, yeah, it's starting to feel a bit real. We're playing on Saturday. Again, many people probably won't give a toss about it, but we're playing on Saturday, so I'll keep an eye out for the score of that one. But yeah, it's been good. England have been rubbish, so can't sound too surprised there. But yeah, a lot of wedding planning for me, and I snuck a birthday in as well in the summer. So yeah, all good here. What about yourself?
Yeah, you're one away from 30 now, aren't you? That was your last one in your 20s.
Yes.
Starting to get on the older side of it, but yeah, enjoy it while it lasts, mate. But yeah, no, I'm all good, thank you. No complaints. Just been very busy on my end. Looking to move at the moment, so all of that at the moment, as if people have moved houses and that, it's quite a stressful period. But yeah, houses on the market. We're looking for new areas. And then, my little girl just keeps me on my toes at all times. But yeah, it's been nice not to worry about football for a while, to be honest. I know we haven't got any Watford performances to watch, but my God, I think I'd enjoy watching Watford play more than what England have done recently. Mike, do you agree on that? It's been tosh, hasn't it?
It has, and I can't sound surprised. And I really want to be this one of these fans that's like, well, if we're playing this badly and we're still through to the quarters, then what's it going to be like when we play well? And I sort of get that, but I often think if Watford scrape a 1-0 win and they've been crap, or they scrape a point and they've been rubbish, I'll be over the moon. But I think it's because we know what squad we've got with England.
Mm.
Not to focus too much on England here, but the squad we got is easily one of the strongest in the tournament. And it's just the bloke in charge. Yes, he's from Watford, so maybe we should sort of worship the ground he walks on, but he's crap, isn't he? So, but I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to. Me and you obviously going to a stag do this weekend in Newcastle, and
Oh yeah.
thankfully, it's the first Saturday game that England have had all tournament, and it's at 5 o'clock. So I'll be looking forward to watching that, and hopefully we can book a place in the semi-finals.
I am buzzing for this weekend, mate. We haven't had a good old catch up for a while, when obviously it's our mates getting married in November, I believe it is. His stag do's this weekend in Newcastle. Newcastle's crazy anyway, but if you're going on a stag do, it's going to be even crazier. And I've actually organised this stag as well, so I've had lots of planning to do. I'm planning 2 stags at the same time, one in Budapest and one in Newcastle. So, and throw into the mix of like trying to be a husband, a father, trying to move house, trying to run a podcast with yourself. It is very stressful, but I managed to get a right old touch. We've booked a table for Brewdog to watch the England game. So we don't have to worry about getting into a cramped pub or anything. We've got a table, it's all booked out. But I had to book it 2 games ago in hope that England would finish top of the group, also beat Slovakia, and it all came together. So it's all aligned. So we're going to get very messy. All I need to do is keep Mike away from the Voice of the Vic Instagram page on Saturday night. He does have a habit when we're together to go live on Instagram. I might take his phone off him for the evening. But yeah, that's enough chat about England. We are here to discuss the Watford summer. It's a Watford catch up with Ben and Mike. And where to start first, Mike? I imagine it's the outgoing that we've had at Watford already, and it is Ismael Kone. He's left to join Marseille for £15 million plus add-ons. It's a great move for Ismael Kone, considering he wasn't really playing much football before he joined Watford. He was at Montreal, where he played 32 games. The Watford scouting network picked him up, and he joined Watford for about £6 million. So Watford had doubled what they bought him for and made a lot of profit. How do you feel about this move, Mike? Did it take you a little bit by surprise that Kone was actually the first player that maybe we've sold this summer? Like, obviously Yasser Spree is at the club, but yeah, how did you feel about the move and how it all came about?
Yeah, I'm disappointed, to be honest. I think we're all expecting Yasser to be the first one out the door. Maybe now I don't think Yasser will go. That might be a bit realistic of me. Not realistic. That might be a bit hopeful of me. But I was surprised that Kone went, and it's a bit of an interesting one because I'm in 2 minds about it. And we often spoke on the podcast last season, and he would play a game and you wouldn't really notice him, and then he'd do a few magical bits and think, oh, okay, there's a player in here. And then the next game he'd be on the bench because he hasn't perhaps shown the game before. And then he'll come on and he'll just be amazing. And it'll be like, oh my God. Like, okay, we really need to start starting Kone. And then he starts again and he goes missing a bit. So there's no doubt that the lad's got talent. I have no doubt about that. But I think it was the inconsistencies, and maybe I'm being a bit harsh because he only had, well, that was his second season in England. And if I remember correctly, was Kone a January signing? So he didn't even get a full season, did he, in his first season, because he come in January. So last season, well, the season just gone was his first full season in English football. So maybe I need to be a bit more sort of understanding on Kone. But without doubt, like I say, there's talent there. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does actually under De Zerbi. I didn't actually know De Zerbi had gone to Marseille, but hopefully he can flourish. He'll actually be coached by a coach, a bit like we saw João Pedro went to Brighton under De Zerbi, and he's flourished. He's had a good season at Brighton. So hopefully Kone can go on from strength to strength. And knowing Mr. Pozzo, he's probably put a clause in the contract of any sell-ons, which will be nice, because I think if Kone sticks to his game and can show consistently the little bursts that we saw and we were so excited about, then he can go on to be one hell of a player. But yeah, gutted to lose a player of his quality, and it'll be interesting to see how we replace him.
Yeah, for me, it's same as you. I thought he had good spells, and then there were spells where he kind of went missing. And I hate that term to use as well, especially for like a young player who's going through his development of players going missing. But he couldn't really find much consistency in his play. He would put in maybe about 2 good performances, then you wouldn't really see him for 3-4 games, and he could end up on the bench. And then he'll come on at half time because we're struggling and we need a bit of urgency. And then Kone's like grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck and pulled us forward, and he put in a shift, and then he'll start the next game and it might have gone downhill again and he'd find himself back on the bench. So I think he kind of struggled for consistency last year, but when he was on it, he was probably one of the best players on the pitch. And I will always remember, like, every time he dropped his shoulder and lost his man, and he just glided across the pitch with a ball. His dribbling was fantastic, and his range of passing's brilliant as well. He scored some quality goals, especially Plymouth away last year. So he's actually got 4 goals for Watford. I just feel like I wasn't expecting this at all. It kind of came out of the blue, and I think he's maybe got himself this transfer with his performances that he did for Canada in the international period just recently. He played against France. I think they drew 0-0, and he was the man of the match. He was outstanding. So obviously playing against France, Marseille being the French club, they probably liked what they saw, and he was probably on their monitor for a while. But if they was thinking, cool, if he's managing to play this well against the world-class oppositions we've got in this French team, then I want a piece of him. So he's fully deserved that move on that aspect. So I just thought I could always see him as an asset for Watford, as in he's someone we could potentially sell off to make a bit of money. But I'm just surprised with how quickly we've sold him. You tend to get youngsters and they're at the club for 2-3 years, and then you sell them on. But with Kone, I feel like the offer that's came in for him, Gino couldn't really turn it down. And then I look at the situation, Mike, and I don't know if you agree with this as well. Gino's probably like, right, okay, we can afford to lose one out of Kone and Espria. If I get a decent amount of money for Kone, I'm going to keep hold of Espria. Do you think that's maybe what came into play a little bit?
I think it's dangerous if it is, because if someone comes in for Espria now and says, here's 20, 30 million, then he's going to be like, shit, I probably should have took that offer. But I don't know. I think it's quite clear from things that you read and things that you hear that we need money. And I think that whole stuff with the shares with the fans, etc., illustrates quite how much in need we are. So I do worry that if somebody comes along and says, like I say, here's 20, 30 million for Espria, Gino's going to have no choice but to sort of say yes. And to be honest, I think I'd take that for Espria as well. Anything between 20 and 30, I'd absolutely take. And that's not me saying I think we'll get that, but I'm just using that as an example. And don't forget as well, with Kone and Espria, actually, both currently competing in the Copa America. And I believe Canada have actually qualified. And they had quite a tough group. I think they've beaten, this is why I need to actually do the research, but I think they've beaten Mexico to qualification in their group. And I think they've gone up with Argentina. So, and I think Espria plays tonight, although I have been checking, because obviously Copa America's different time zone to us. I have been checking, and
they played Brazil last night, and he was an unused sub.
There we go then. So yeah, I've just gone on here, and like you say, it was 1-1. So he hasn't actually played much in Copa America. I think here we go. He played 45 minutes against Bolivia, and then he played 20 minutes against Costa Rica. But yeah, to answer your question, I don't know if Gino would have thought of it that way, because like I say, I think if a big offer comes in for Yassa, I don't think Gino's in a position to turn it down. But I think, like we've both summed up, I was expecting Kone to go, maybe just not yet. I think I maybe thought, right, if he stays with us this season, really hits the ground, then we'll sell him for a big fee next season. But can't grumble for 15 million plus add-ons, really. And best of luck to him in France. And he'll be linking up with former Watford man Ismael Kone, obviously, and former teammate of his.
Yeah, and you said the other day as well, you might be linking up with Mason Greenwood of Manchester United, but less said about him, the better. Yeah. But yeah, Ismael Kone is the first transfer out of Vicarage Road, but was a transfer in the door this afternoon. It's been brewing for a couple of weeks. There's been lots of reports. We're going to go through all the players that have been linked with moves to Watford, but one was officially announced at 3:00 this afternoon, and it is the return of Jonathan Bond, the goalkeeper. The 31-year-old rejoins Watford on a 1-year contract after his contract expired with LA Galaxy. Might want to point as well that his contract actually expired in February, so he's been without a club since February, which is, I I didn't realise, but obviously the off season with America, it works totally different to what it is over in the UK. He played about 90 appearances for MLS side LA Galaxy. He started off being their number one goalkeeper, 31 appearances in the first season, 34 appearances the year after, and then last season he only made 24 appearances, and I think he lost his spot towards the end of the season. But he knows the area. He's obviously came through the academy. He was born in Hemel Hempstead. He's a free transfer. What do you make of the signing of Jonathan Bond, Mike?
Yeah, again, split opinions really. Not to go with the same answer. I think maybe a little bit questioning why have we brought him in, and we probably could have kept hold of Ben Hamer. I thought Hamer had a decent season, but look, Bondy knows the place. Obviously, we brought Lloyd's back in the backroom staff. We've got Gosling on the backroom staff. So are we trying to create that sort of Watford ethos again and get people around the club, either behind the scenes and on the pitch, that know the place and can bring some good times back to Watford? Possibly. I think as well, if my lining up is correct, I think the only reason that LA Galaxy didn't extend Jonathan's contract is because they're actually signing Matt Turner from Nottingham Forest, who is an American international goalkeeper, and Forest signed him from Arsenal. So that would mean that he's further down the pecking order, hence why they didn't offer him a new contract. But look, like I say, he knows the club, and to be honest, he's been getting a lot of stick on Twitter, which I think is unwarranted. I think Watford fans are just being Watford fans here, and listen, they're entitled to their opinion, but so much negativity, and I think we could have made a lot worse a signing, especially when it comes to a backup goalkeeper, because there's no way for 1 minute, unless he has an unbelievable pre-season, that he's going to be number one. He'll want to be coming here to be number one, absolutely, and that's what his ambition should be. But I don't for 1 minute think that he will be. And I think he had a good spell at Watford. I will never, ever, ever forget that game away at Hull in the 2012-13 season. In the playoff final season, me and my dad went up and we won 1-0. Troy scored, and Bondy was unbelievable that game. So that will live long in the memory for me. But end of the day, it's a free transfer, which I think we're going to be seeing a lot of. It's a goalkeeper to replace Ben Hamer, who we let go on a free, and he knows the club. So not too much done wrong in my eyes, and only time will tell to see if it was the right decision or not.
I think it's a smart move from Watford. Obviously, there's going to be grumblings behind it because fans want someone to come in to replace Daniel Batman. But I harped on about it a lot towards the end of the last season, and Daniel Batman is good enough to be a number one goalkeeper in his division, and he certainly is for Watford. So I don't see that position changing. Obviously, Ben Hamer leaving, I think getting Jonathan Bond in ticks a lot of boxes. His salary is not going to be high. He's not going to be expecting to play many games, but he'll be pushing Daniel Batman. And I think he's a decent standard goalkeeper. I think the MLS is not a bad standard. I know they have something over there where they have 3 better players in each team. As in not world-class players, and the rest of them are maybe average players, but it's still a decent standard over there. Probably similar to maybe like the Championship or top-end League One, but he performed really well for LA Galaxy. But I think it's not a bad move. I hope it works out well for him. He's obviously had a good stint with Watford before, during the time of Gianfranco Zola and Beppe Sannino, and the 4 managers we had on that promotion season as well. And I think he picked up around about 30 appearances for Watford. But yeah, I think it's good. It's going to tick a lot of boxes for us, and it obviously is our first summer signing now. What we need to do is just follow that up and bring in a few more players. Because we was talking the other day in the WhatsApp groups, because a lot of players have been linked with Watford, and we was all wondering why nothing has happened yet. And then I gave my opinion, as in, obviously the accounts finished on the 30th of June. We've managed to fast track Kone to get that sale done to make our books look better, similar to what we did to João Pedro the previous season. And I didn't really think Watford wanted to make any transfers just before the 30th of June, because obviously that would have been included into the figures, like compensation or agents' fees, loan fees, wages. So they've obviously waited till the start of July, and hopefully we'll see them start to trickle through now. Mike, there's actually, before I go on to the next player linked in, Pete from Do Not Scratch Your Eyes has left a comment. Pete, hope you're well. Hope you've had a fantastic summer. Loving your England podcast as well. Justin hasn't got a clue about anything, has he? International football or England-wise, has he? He does make me chuckle. So yeah, Ewan's TV. Pete, Do Not Scratch Your Eyes says Bond was injured for 7 games and missed the last 4 games at LA Galaxy when it was clear he would be on the go. Also released in February, it was doubtful he would be signed by another club. I imagine he probably would have only been signed by another club if there was like an injury crisis or something, and then they would have got it like a deal to the end of the season. But Mike, yeah, that second signing that looks very close to be happening is a 19-year-old youngster from Celtic. Rocco Vata is in an advanced talks with Watford. Medical's been arranged for Thursday. Fabricio Romero tweeted earlier. There's been lots of talk about him recently. I imagine you don't know too much about him, Mike. He's only got about 6 appearances for Celtic's first team. He's got 1 goal, which I believe was scored in like the Scottish Cup.
It was against Bucky Thistle in a 5-1 win.
Oh wow, yeah, challenging for him. But yeah, he's been on the bench a lot of times for Celtic this season. Reading into it a little bit, Brendan Rodgers doesn't really fancy him, or hasn't really given him the opportunity to flourish in the team. From what I've seen from Celtic fans seem to rate him, but it just seems like Brendan Rodgers didn't want to put too many eggs into that basket for him. He's in a Republic of Ireland under 21 international as well. Mike, do you know much about him, or is it just for quick Wikipedia, transfer market search, have a look on YouTube to see what he's like?
Yeah, well, I mean, first things first, anything Brendan Rodgers says, we have to say the opposite because he's a massive twat. So let's just get that out there. But no, look, I don't know much about him at all. I always have a look on transfer market whenever I see the players linked with us, just so we can maybe add a few stats and a few bits when we pop in the tweets out, because we like to we don't just like to post, we linked with this player. We do like to try and add a bit of sort of statistics to it where we can. So I had a look, and he plays obviously a lot for the under 23s for Celtic, and I think they call it the Lowland Division or the Highland Division. I can't remember now, but he scored a lot of goals. His goals to game ratio is very good. Now I understand that he's Scottish under 23s level, and a lot of people think that the Scottish Prem is League One standard at best as normal. So yeah, it's a bit of the unknown, to be honest. I've been trying to get in touch with a Celtic podcast just to show you a peek behind the curtain to how things work at Voices of the Vic. I've been tirelessly DMing Celtic podcasts trying to say, look, do you want to come on and chat about him? And we actually had one come back to us and say, look, without being horrible, we don't really know much about him ourselves. And, he didn't want to come on and sort of waste our time. So I think there's a lot of the unknown with Celtic as well. I've seen a few tweets where people have been tweeting about, Celtic fans reacting to Fabrizio Romano. I saw one chap say, if Watford can afford to pay him 25 grand a week, how are we meant to compete with that? So I don't, and I'm like, mate, come on, like really? So, but look, it'll be interesting. Is the plan to bring him in and play him as a first team player? Is the plan to bring him in and ship him out on loan, a bit like we did with your Dapo Mabudays, Pollock when he first come in? There was that chap that went, the Mabuday was a chap that went to Wimbledon, I was going to mention then. So do we look to bring him in and ship him out on loan? For me, I don't want to be pinning our hopes on this lad, because we know that the striking department was quite dire last season. And I think it'd be a lot of pressure for him if Clev's brought him in and says, right, okay. So we had a bit of a shitstorm up front last season, but you can sort it, mate. You go home. So, yeah, I'm excited, of course. I will never turn my nose up at signing British young talent. No way, Jose. And, yeah, let's see how he gets on. And maybe he will be involved in and around the first team. So, yeah, it's very much going to be until we hopefully speak to a Celtic pod. Can't say much. I know much about him, unfortunately.
Well, luckily, we've got someone here who knows a little bit more than you and me.
Yeah,
Pete's popped in another message to help us out. Pete said, most of his football has been in the Lowlands League with Celtic B, very much an unknown until he's played a few months first-team football. Tricky second-line forward and can play wide. I saw someone ask Luans on his opinion of him. And he says that he's heard that he's maybe plays similar to what Jack Clark does for Sunderland. If he can play anything like Jack Clark, I would have that all day long. But let's not get too excited, put too much pressure on the young lad's shoulders, because obviously he's going to be moving down from his family from Scotland into England. That's going to be tough enough on its own. But to try and make it as a championship player straight away, hit the ground running, when he's not been playing too many minutes for Celtic, could be a big ask. But I think he's coming into a good environment where Cleverley's going to give the opportunity to youngsters to prove himself. I think we've seen that in pre-season already, where Cleverley's called up a lot of youngsters, and they're going to get their chance under him. I imagine he's probably going to be a bench player, maybe someone who doesn't make the matchday squad now and again. But I think he's an exciting prospect, and who knows, he might end up making this first proper appearance for Watford in maybe the League Cup game against MK Dons that we're all thrilled that we've got in the cup. But yeah, it's exciting, isn't it, to be able to maybe bring in a promising youngster from Celtic. But yeah, let's watch his space. The next player, Mike, he's actually been at Watford for the last couple of weeks, and that's the photo I've got up here. Antonio Vitic. From Indonesia. He's been training with the first team at London Colony since they returned, which was the end of June. Nothing's been announced yet, but imagine the deal is going to go through nicely. He's a tall, left-footed Croatian defender, and he's a centre-back. So I imagine Mike is bats for cover for Wesley Hoot, or if we're playing three at the back, Hoot in the middle, Porteous on the right. Maybe Tikvic's going to be on the left-hand side of the three.
Maybe, but I would be very surprised considering he's only made what looks like 2 appearances for Udinese. We were linked with this chap, I think it was last season. He's one of these where his name crops up what feels like almost every transfer window. He sounds decent enough. You know, he come through the ranks at Bayern, and again, he didn't make a first-team appearance for Bayern other than pre-season. They played Man City, and again, I was finding a picture of Tikvic for the Instagram account, and there he was, lo and behold, putting a tackle in against no other than Erling Haaland. So he come through the ranks at Bayern 2, I think they call them over there, and like I say, he's only made 1 or 2 appearances for Udinese's first team. He spent most of the season on the bench, and he played a minute against Fiorentina, and then played 90 minutes in a 3-2 loss against some team that I can't remember. So he's not had a lot of exposure to senior men's football. So I think this one is very much a case of he will be cover, because I don't know how I'd feel with him starting if he was in a back three. Would it make sense positionally? Probably yes. But let's see how he does in pre-season, and let's wait till he's bloody announced for one. But yeah, again, a bit of the unknown for this one. Tried reaching out to a few Croatians and seeing if they know anything of him, because he's made several appearances for the under-23s and whatnot. So yeah, let's see. But another young player coming in, Ben, is this going to be the way forward?
It looks that way at the moment. It looks like they're targeting the young players, although we're going to talk about a 34-year-old midfielder in 1 second. But you need to add a bit of experience into the team as well. But what makes me laugh, Mike, is they've not announced the deal. They're keeping it hush. And yet there's photographers taking pictures of the players at the training ground. Watford uploading these photos onto social medias. The players are themselves. And there you are in the centre of a photo, Antonio Tikvic, who isn't a Watford player, but is wearing the Watford training ground, training wear, which is lovely, by the way. So yeah, they kind of like spoil it a little bit there, don't they? They're like, oh, you don't have to do much detective work here. But yeah, we'll wait to see when that gets announced. I imagine it'll be pretty shortly done soon. The next one, Mike, mixed feelings maybe from me. Moussa Sissoko, rumored to wanting to come back to London. He's got a new agent all of a sudden. Mogi Boyat, remember him? Maybe he's trying to bring him to Watford using his links. He's not involved with the club, but he is involved with the club. So we're going to explore that avenue. But supposedly Moussa Sissoko wants to come back to London. He was at the club 2 seasons ago when Watford had their worst Premier League season on. I don't know if it was on record, but from enjoyment wise, it was the worst season I've endured watching and supporting this football club. And he was our captain that season as well. He's linked with a return back. He's been at Nantes for the last 2 years. He's played a fair amount of games. I think he played about 34 one season, and last season he played 26 games. People are saying he's our Jake Livermore replacement. He's supposedly coming back on a very low wage. Are you happy with the return of Moussa Sissoko, Mike? Is he a Jake Livermore replacement? Is he better than Jake Livermore? What's your thoughts?
We only saw him in that Premier League season, and he was.
Can I just say, the one thing that reminds me about Moussa Sissoko in this podcast is your saying for Moussa Sissoko is he'll run.
But he never did.
No, that's all you basically said each time. You just say all he's got is he'll just run. He'll run for you. He'll run for you. He'll run for you. And that's all he just seemed to do for me personally. He's box to box, but I don't think he does anything either end of the box.
Yeah, I'm a bit like you. I don't know where I sit with this one because again, it's like if we're going to sign someone like this, why not keep Jake Livermore? You know, Sissoko was captain, rightly or wrongly, that season. I always think of that Norwich game where he penned a letter to the supporters and then we absolutely got battered 3-0. So, you know, it does worry me a bit. But look, we're judging him off a season in a horrendous season in the Premier League. Could a step down to the Championship, could that unlock a bit of, a bit of an upper hand for Sissoko? He's going to be someone who he brings experience to the side. And how many times have we sat here and spoke on the podcast about previous players and you look at good teams in the Championship who they will be littered with, young players and that, but you always have to have that experience. Last season, it was Jake Livermore. Previously, it's been Ben Watson, Matthew Connolly, Sebastian Basong, names that you've heard time and time again on this podcast. So, on one hand, I don't hate it, but on the other hand, it's a bit meh. But I think we sort of need to get used to that because we're not where we were, especially financially. We're going to be doing a lot of wheeling and dealing this season, I think. So maybe I need to
doing that with Mogi Boyat's pulling the strings.
Well, exactly. I mean, the fact that he's now his new agent, just because he was meant to be coming back. We got offered him. Was it last January as well?
Yeah.
They said that we went in for him, or
He's
we
like
almost
a bad smell, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. But look, jury's out on this one. If he wants to come and give his everything, he played with Klebs. You know, there was a video when I was searching on Twitter for his goal against Arsenal. There was a video where he come off as a sub against Tottenham at the new stadium, and it was no other than cleverly replacing him. So he played with Klebs. So again, got an understanding of him. Klebs knows how he works. So if he wants to come and put a shift in and do all that running, then I will support him until he keeps doing so. So, yeah, jury's out for me on this one. Don't hate it, but not exactly overly thrilled.
Does he start for you?
Depends what formation we go with. I think if you're going to
I've
have
seen
someone...
rumours saying that Klebs wants to play with 2 number 10s. So then you're only going to have one more central midfielder in there, really, aren't you?
Well, my
Behind him.
worry with that is if you're going to have 2 number 10s, and unless my interpretation of it is incorrect, and this is actually good that we've got Pete in the comments because it'd be interesting to know what he thinks as well, is if you're going to have your 2 number 10s, they're going to be pushed quite high, and they're obviously going to be running off the striker. They're going to be supporting the striker where they can. So really, you need that midfield player, your traditional number 8 or your number 6, however you want to look at it. You need them to cover a lot of ground in that middle, and you need someone to be in that engine room. So yes, if he runs and runs and runs, that's fine, but you need someone that's going to really, really get stuck in and do it week by week by week. And like Livermore, I think we saw last season, he'd come in and he'd be brilliant at some things, but because of his age, he wouldn't be able to do it on a consistent basis. So that does worry me a little bit. Maybe is Loser the man to have that midfield role just behind the 2 number 10s? Is he sort of a gritty enough player? I don't know.
I don't see a space for him in the team. If he's a Jake Livermore replacement, Jake Livermore wasn't getting in the starting 11 towards the end of the season. Tom Deli Bashiro was our best midfielder towards the end of the season. Yeah. He's recently just signed a 3-year contract, which is great news for Watford. Yeah. You've obviously got Imran Loser coming back from his loan spell in France. You've got Edo Kiembe, who probably had his best season for Watford last year. Sissoko doesn't get ahead of those 3 central midfielders for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And it's I think he's going to be one of these players that we use very much rotationally because we all know what a hard slog the Championship is. And with this new TV deal playing at certain times as well, I don't know if there's a rule to say you can't have 2. You can't have like a 12:30 game one week and then a 12:30 game the next or whatever. I don't know if there's certain rules about the kickoff times sort of messing you around, but we know how ruthless the Championship is. So he'll be very much a bit part player, I think. But it'll be interesting to see where he fits in that system because if we're going to play with 2 number 10s, I think we'll be massively exposed with someone like Sissoko in the middle. I think we're pissing in the wind there. So
I think it would be good legs to have from the bench. And when you got those fixtures Saturday, Tuesday for like a midweek game, I think he could be a good option to have. But
maybe it doesn't really out games as well. How many times did we see Jake Livermore come on and he felt as much as the player breathed on him and he went down and won these tactical free kicks and he did what he does and he was very clever where his legs might not be where they were. He still had it up here. So could he be that type of player? We don't know.
Well, he's played at the highest level, hasn't he, as well, Moussa Sissoko? He's played for big teams. He's played for Newcastle, Spurs. He's played so many games for France as well. Is he a World Cup winner as well, Mike? Was he involved with a team when they won it?
Was he at the 20? I can't remember, actually, because that wasn't...
He's played 33... Wow, he's played 71 games for France.
There you go, then. I don't know if he's...
I'm just having a quick look now to see if he was involved in that World Cup period. If you just want to all talk amongst yourself quickly.
No, I think he maybe just missed the World Cup because the only transfer market...
He's won the Nations League with France, hasn't he?
That's what it is. The meaningless trophy.
And the Euros runner-up as well. Champions League runner-up with Spurs. So he wasn't involved with the FA Cup World Cup. He scored a goal at the World Cup for France in 2014. Vastly experienced midfielder. I think it ticks a lot of boxes for Watford financially if he's willing to come back on a fairly low salary. And he's replacing another experienced head. I think it ticks the boxes for them. But for me personally, I don't see it. I know Cam's got a different opinion to both of us. I think he thinks it's quite a shrewd move for Watford. But yeah, that's why football's beautiful. It's it's an opinions game, isn't it? Lots of people got lots of different opinions. Next one is a couple of players. So we're obviously looking at the left back position. Obviously, because my favourite player, Jamal Lewis, left last season. So Watford are heavily looking at that left-back situation. Won't speak about this too much, Mike, but we can both agree that it's an area, probably for me, it's our most important position we need to fill this season. So Lino Sousa of Aston Villa, he came through the academy at Arsenal, and then Villa signed him last summer and sent him out on loan in February. He went to Plymouth Argyle in the Championship, played about 8 games. So he's played in the Championship before. Highly rated left back. And then also we've got Kenneth Powell of QPR. I've got a lot of QPR fans in my family. I like to add, it's not my blood family, it's my missus' family. I wouldn't allow that otherwise. But I messaged my brother-in-law and he said that Kenneth Powell was one of their better players last season. He performed well for 80% of the season, and then he said he had a bit of a lull for about 20%. But to constantly doing that for the whole season, you won't be playing in the Championship. You'd be playing Champions League football if you could perform like at 100% each week in, week out. But Mike, this shows that Watford are looking in that left back position and targeting players that have played in England and the Championship as well, which might be refreshing to see.
Yeah, definitely. I'm more excited about the Kenneth Powell one. Hopefully there's more in that, because as you say, Sousa only made 8 appearances. I asked my Aston Villa supporting friends and each and every one of them said, who? So he's obviously not held in. He's not one of these that's like a youngster waiting to blossom and we'll send him out on loan. So, and he come from Arsenal as well. And as you know, my boss and best friend is an Arsenal fan, and he'd never really heard of him either. So I can't imagine he's made too many waves where he's been. And like you say, only 8 games for Plymouth. Why that was, I don't know. I know they had a bit of a rocky spell. But yeah, Kenneth Powell one, I'll be more than happy with that. And like you say, you've spoken to QPR fans, and it sounds like he's quite versatile as well. I don't know if you just said it there because I was just checking my phone for something. But you said to us before that he's quite versatile and can play centre mid as well if needed to. And it's good to have versatility. But absolutely, thank God we're looking at a left back. Jamal Lewis didn't work out last season, unfortunately. It'd be interesting to see where he ends up now. But yeah, Kenneth Powell, I would happily take him out of the 2.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I'd rather him as well. A bit more of experience, and played a lot last year for QPR. And if QPR fans are saying that he was one of the better players, then I would take that all day long. Next, Mike, is the fixtures. They were released last week. I've popped them up there for everyone to see. What's the first thing you look out for in fixtures day?
I always look. This is going to sound really obvious, but I have to say it because someone replied to a tweet that we put out the other day and whatnot. But I always look out, obviously, for who we've got first. But the big ones are the Boxing Day, New Year's Day, last game of the season, and then who we've got over the Easter period, because there's that real sort of football sort of frenzy in April when it's really business time, and you've got the games over the Easter period, which I always quite like. But this year it's been a little bit different. Obviously, I'm getting married in October. I learned a few weeks ago that luckily or unluckily, depends how you look at it, it's an international break when I'll get married. However, the week after is Luton away. So I cannot imagine how I would have been feeling if Luton away fell on my wedding day. So, I mean, granted, I'm getting married on a Friday, but I think with this new TV deal, there's even games on a Friday, so that very well could have happened. So that was one I was looking for. And then also I was looking for November because I'm going to Jamaica on the honeymoon. So I was having a look to see what games I might catch out there. And I think I catch Oxford and Plymouth Argyle. And then we fly back on the day of Bristol City at home. So yeah, a few more to look out for me this season. Unfortunately, my birthday falls outside of the domestic season. And yeah, they're the ones that I looked out for, and obviously the Luton games as well. And then yeah, they're the ones for me. What about you? Any particular ones that you sort of keep an eye out for?
Well, same ones as you, really. So obviously, opening game of the season, the two derbies, Boxing Day and New Year's Day as well, because you always plan that around your family. And then I always like the end of the season, the running towards the end of the season. It's if you're playing for either promotion or trying to stay in the division. Looking at the April and May fixtures, I think they're not too bad. They could be worse. So we've got April. We've got Bristol City away on the 5th of April. The Tuesday, the 8th, is Hull City at home. Then it's away to West Brom on the 12th. At home to Burnley on the 18th. And then the last three fixtures, I think, have fallen quite nicely for Watford. You got Portsmouth away on the 21st, you got Blackburn away on the 26th, and then you got Sheffield Wednesday at home. At one promoted team, two teams that struggled last season. Bit of omen as well. Sheffield Wednesday at home. Watford got promoted last time when Sheffield Wednesday came to Vicarage Road on the last game of the season, albeit it was a massive fuck up. We could have won a title. And I don't think we'll forget that day, but still got promoted. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the season. It always gives you that buzz, doesn't it, Mike, after the fixtures are released? Millwall away as well. I don't know if you mentioned it earlier. That's actually on your stag date. So we're missing that. But because the opening games of the Sky Bet Championship are all kicking off at 12:30 and all available on Sky Sport Plus. So we're going to try and find a lovely pub in Blackpool. Try and watch Millwall versus Watford. I wonder if they'll let us in. But yeah, looking forward to that. And then obviously, Sky announced today that they've chosen a further 2 games to show on Sky. The other ones are Sheffield United away and Norwich City away. The Sheffield United away game was scheduled for the 31st of August, which was a 3 p.m. kickoff. It's now going to be shown on a Sunday, the 1st of September, at 3 o'clock. And then the Norwich City away game is still remaining on the 21st of September, but it's been moved to a 12:30 kickoff instead of a 3 o'clock kickoff. So no home games have been scheduled for Sky, and that's been announced up towards the end of September. So you're pretty safe now to book all your travel in advance if you're planning any away games. But yeah, looking forward to that, Mike. Next one is this beauty, not Matty Pollock. Well, he's a bit of a beauty anyway. He's got a lovely buzz cut haircut now, which he put on social media yesterday. But what I want to talk about is that shirt he's wearing. How do you rate that, Mike? One of your favourites, one of the best Kelmay's produced for Watford.
Best Kelmay kit already. So
Yeah.
well, best Kelmay kit so far. And then yeah, that is going in. That is running a very close second to my favourite ever Watford kit, which was the promotion kit, the CTX, the one we won promotion at Wembley, 99-2000 season. That is my favourite Watford kit, but that is running it a very, very close second. Proper retro look to it. And as well, I mean, I always get the sponsor, as you can tell, but I think the sponsor really blends in really well to this. And yeah, I can't help but look at that and think Sheffield United away from last season. But maybe that's because I looked at Sheffield United away last season and thought Watford. So, yeah, but real beauty. By far the best Kelme kit, hands down. And the training
I like that it's quite retro looking as well. And I think that's what Watford fans like. I think Kelme, they've produced good shirts for Watford, and they are very different in every design that they've produced. But this is like back to basics. Nice, clean, simple shirt. Not overcomplicated it, but giving it that retro look as well. And I just think it's superb. I think that's hands down my favourite Kelme shirt. But I've got to think about it as in my favourite Watford shirt. I don't know what it looks like on yet. It's got to get over this beer belly first, and that's going to expand even more after this weekend in Newcastle we've got planned. But I absolutely love it, mate. Next question, and we've had a few questions on this. Ross Putnam's already asked in the questions tonight. I think we had another question yesterday from someone on Twitter. Chris Howe on Twitter also said it. Red shorts, yes or no?
Do you know what? Usually, no. And the only reason is it screams Ronald McDonald to me. However, I must say the red shorts really complement this kit. I think you could have gone black and it would have suited it just as good. But I think the red shorts really go with this. So because it's the kit, because of the top we've got, yes. Normally, I would be a big no. And to be fair, you can't argue with the stats. Whenever we've had red recently, it's always sort of aligns with success. So if that means that we're going to have a pretty good season, maybe a nice cup run as well to go with it, then happy days. But yeah, normally no, but with this kit, yes, perfect. You?
It's a different shade of red, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think they've made it slightly darker, but I'm not one for red shorts. I am always firmly in the black short category, and I have to stick with black shorts for me. I don't mind the red shorts. Obviously, it's quite iconic for Watford. We've had a lot of success for it, and if Watford are to be successful again this season, and it's because they're wearing red shorts, then I will take that because I want my team to be successful. But I personally think, looking at this shirt here, I think black shorts, black socks would go amazing with this, only because of the black trims you got going down the shop. The shirt, I don't think there's enough red in the shirt to warrant red shorts. Sure. But I understand there's a lot of people wanted reds, and they've got their way, and I'm happy for them. We've had black shorts for absolutely ages. I don't know about you, Mike, as well. Looking at this picture here of Yasser Asprilla, looking at him in the red shorts and socks, I get Ashley Young vibes. Do you?
Yeah, I get jealous vibes because he's wearing a kit that he's absolutely drowned in. I'm lucky to squeeze into a kit nowadays, but yeah, I'm getting Ashley Young vibes as well. It's like 2 sizes too big for him, but hey, if he wants to play and have the career that Ashley Young does, fair play to him. But yeah, I'm a big fan. He really has blown it out of the water, because I think as well, Ben, and this is why leaks are so dangerous. We obviously saw the leak, we saw the picture, and I was a bit like, okay, always looks better in person, always. And yeah, that for me goes in at the number 1 chart for Kelme kits. So if we ever do like a Christmas episode of like ranking kits or whatever, remember that, number 1.
Write this one down now. Vince, ranking Kelme kits for Christmas. It's Christmas special. Okay, yeah, that's in for Christmas. Everyone will look forward to that one. Yeah, no, I do like it. The shirt, love it. But yeah, it's going to take me a while to get used to the red. It might be a slow burner, but as long as my Watford are winning, that's all what matters. I could play in Mr. Blobby colours, and I wouldn't really care. As long as we see a more committed, successful team this season, then I will absolutely take that. Just before we go, Ross Pocknell, Ben's shirt is one of my favourites. I would stand up and show you more of it, but like Mike alluded to not so long ago, most of my shots don't really fit now either. So this is like hanging proper over my belly. But yeah, love it as well. Danny Graham's on the back as well. Don't know if you can see that.
I get Don Cowie vibes from that shirt.
Don Cowie. Troy Deeney as well, away at Norwich City for his debut. Johnny Eustace, A.G. Mariappa.
Was Klebs in that kit as well? Or were you just
I'm not too sure.
Because that was under Malky. And I think Klebs, he might have just gone back, you know. I think he missed that by
Lee Hodgson as well.
Yes.
Called Lee Hodgson, blast from the past. He went on to play for Eastleigh, was it? I think he's at Eastleigh.
He's at Eastleigh in the National League, yeah.
Yeah, he's been around a bit. He went up to play for Glasgow Rangers for a little bit as well.
Yes, that's right.
He's someone who's had a football career for much longer than I anticipated he would. But yeah, absolutely love it as well, Russ. Yeah, cheers, mate. Also, I was thinking about this earlier as well. With this shirt, Mike, the shirt manufacturers were Burda, and also the kit sponsor was Burda.
Burda as well.
It just also shows like how far maybe kit sponsorship and like making money from shirts have changed massively. Like now, you wouldn't have like a kit manufacturer sponsoring a shirt as well. Like you wouldn't get Kelme putting Kelme on the middle of a shirt either. Like it just shows how far Watford have maybe came financially, as in like getting stake across the shirt. Like that's millions of pounds worth. But like we were struggling financially back here, weren't we, Mike? And like Burda, I think we probably just accepted it because it maybe paid a few wages for a few months and they just got the deal done.
Yeah, I think like you say, it shows that football, not just Watford, but football's come a long way. There's so much money in sponsorship now. I'm trying to think. There's a sponsorship just been announced in the National League or League Two, and it's like one of the biggest sponsorship deals they've ever seen. Even Wrexham, who have obviously been in those leagues in the last couple of years. I can't think what team it is now. I want to say, I don't know, but it just shows us so much money, you know, and stake millions. Look, Everton are sponsored by them now. I think.
Have you seen that Kelme do Wildstone as well?
Yeah, I only saw that because Max has obviously signed, hasn't he? So I saw his pictures. So yeah, Kelme in Spain used to be massive. I'm sure they used to do Real Madrid's. They do Espanyol. They were quite big back in the day in Spain. Because I'm always on the lookout for going off on a bit of a tangent here. I'm always on the lookout for old kits on Vinted. And I tend to search for Kelme in the brand, and you get a lot of the old Spanish football team kits, like retro-wise. And they're big in Spain. But yeah, going back, the shirt sponsors now are worth millions. That's why you see them on sleeves at the top of the back, just above the player's name. You look at the South American teams, and bloody hell, you'd be lucky to find an inch of space that isn't covered by a sponsor. So, yeah, it's crazy. But listen, whether it's right or wrong of me to say this, I will never grumble at these gambling companies sponsoring Watford until we can get away with it. Because if it brings us money in, then I'm happy for it. I might have said that a bit too blasé, and I get there's people that have gripes with gambling for all sorts of reasons, and I certainly acknowledge that. But you've got to get the big bucks while you can, because I think next season you're not allowed in the Football League to be sponsored by a betting company. So Mr. Q will go. And I think that it was quite an alarming stat, actually. I think there was only 4 teams last season that in the EFL, in the Championship, that weren't sponsored by betting firms. So there's going to be a lot of change. Expect to see the University of Hertfordshire, which is on the sleeve this season, maybe on the front next. Who knows?
Who knows? with that Hertfordshire University sponsorship, I don't think that's obviously given the club much of an income coming in. I don't imagine that was like a multi-million-pound deal, but that's a part of the partnership that Watford have with the University of Hertfordshire now, and they want to promote that. Obviously, it's based in Hatfield as well, so it's good to see local companies still being involved. Mr. Q's obviously a local company as well, but Mr. Q will probably go next season, but what I don't want to go next season is Kelme, because they make belting kits, and I think we've had them for about 5 seasons now. If I could get another 5 more seasons out of Kelme, I would take that all day long. Fantastic shirt manufacturer. Mike, just before we go, 2 Hornets have represented their countries at the Euros this season. We'll touch briefly on Ryan Porteous, only briefly because he didn't play for too long. He's actually returned back to London Coney very sharply after his exit from Germany. It wasn't great for him, was it? And you feel for him and you don't feel for him, because I thought until the sending off, I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was probably one of Scotland's better players. But then Ryan Porteous was just doing what Ryan Porteous does, and he's a bit of a hothead at times. And thankfully, it wasn't a broken leg that the player received on the other end. Gundogan.
Yeah, I can't sort of say that I've watched a lot of the Euros games other than the England games this season, but I was adamant on watching the opening game because of Porto, and it's a typical Porto challenge, isn't it? We've seen him, maybe not as bad as that, but we've seen him fly into challenges before and give the referee a mouthful afterwards, and wonder sometimes how he's got away with it. But you don't get away with those in the Euros, so yeah. Of course, I felt sorry for him, but let's hope that moment of madness was just a moment of madness, and he can have a good season with Watford this season coming up, because I think we're starting to see him maybe more settled down now. And with the formation change that occurred last season under Cleves, I think we saw a better version of Porteous. So hopefully that can continue next season. But yeah, I felt sorry for him and him only. For Scotland getting knocked out in the group, it was fucking hilarious. So yeah.
Yeah, we enjoyed that. But yeah, I felt for Porto as well, and it wasn't a 1-game ban. They actually added a further game on as well, so he obviously didn't play another part in the Euro competition over in Germany. But I've seen that he's returned back to training yesterday. He's returned back quicker than I thought he would have, but probably knowing Porto's personality, he probably wouldn't really be able to relax on the beach. He kind of wants to get back to work, and he might feel more comfortable being back at work, keeping his mind busy, and instead of maybe trying to put to bed what's happened in the past, because I imagine he's going to be reminded daily of that terrible challenge he made over in Germany. But maybe someone who's had a much better tournament, and he has, obviously he's on the plane back home now, Georgi Chapvadaski. He was fantastic for Georgia. They was unfortunate to lose the other night. But he's another one who, at some points, I thought he was playing for a transfer as well, like Ismael Kone, putting himself in a shop window, because his performances were brilliant. And Georgia, as a country, performed fantastically. How did you think Georgie got on?
Yeah, delighted for Georgia. Delighted for Georgia as well. I think they really made a good go of it, considering that was their first ever Euros, and they got to the knockout into the knockout. Sorry, and I know they lost 4-1 in the end. Was it against Spain? But they gave a bloody good account of themselves, and they beat Portugal. And yeah, Georgie played out his skin. You know, obviously a lot of group chats. I mean, whenever there's a game on, they often talk about the game. Oh, this looks good. This player looks good. They've got the chap up front from Napoli, who he, probably destined for Real Madrid soon enough. They've got that other chap who plays in Italy as well. I can't think what club, and I'm definitely not going to try and pronounce his name, but it starts with an M. He's definitely probably given a few scouts the sort of heads up with performances as well. And then the Georgie's name was getting mentioned a lot as well. And I think a few Watford fans were getting a bit worried at how much the commentator was just confirming that he was at Watford, because I think we'll be lucky if we don't get a bid for him, because I think a lot of people would have looked at his performances and thought, you know what, this guy can play. So yeah, he's done Watford proud. He's done Georgia proud as well. And yeah, I'm delighted for Georgie, and long may it continue next season, because my word, we've got one hell of a player on our hands, and it's just even more frustrating that we perhaps didn't play him more last season. So
yeah, I think he's got a big part to play this season at Watford,
massively.
and it'll be exciting to see. But yeah, right, I think we'll probably wrap it up there. Just over an hour. We had a lot to catch up on. It's been a nice and refreshing summer, but we're back with a bang, with lots of content. We will continue to give you content over summer, and we'll be back when there is more transfer news or updates, maybe previewing a pre-season friendly as well. Just before you all go as well, thank you for watching. Thank you for getting involved in the comments. If you're listening to a podcast, don't forget to give us a rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Also hit that follow button as well, so we'll pop up whenever we've released a episode. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button and also the subscribe button as well, and we really appreciate it. We want to try and push the podcast as much as we can next season, and we'll keep giving you regular content. And Mike, I will see you in Newcastle this weekend. Make sure you bring your best shit shirt. I know you've got plenty to pick from. They're just your regular shirts. So yeah, you looking forward to this weekend?
Yeah, looking forward to it, mate. And like I say, we get to watch the England game as well. And it's proper sad of me, but I'll be keeping tabs on the Watford Reading game as well on my phone and whatnot. But yeah, looking forward to it. And Jack's stag this month, and then mine next month. So a busy few weeks, and my liver's not going to thank me. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Mike's actually chickened out of a paintballing on Saturday just so he can watch the Watford Reading game. He basically told me that he doesn't fancy doing paintballing. He's had a bad experience in the past, but secretly now I found out about the Reading game this weekend. He's going to be watching the behind closed doors friendlies, and he'll be probably texting me during it when I'm getting hit by plenty of pellets. But yeah, no, looking forward to it. And yeah, it's good to be back. So looking forward to seeing you this weekend, Mike. Looking forward to getting back and doing more podcasts, everyone. Thank you for watching, and we will be back soon. Come on, you Warns.